Hello, in this video, we're going to be talking about the print temperature test homework. So what we're going to do in this one is download a file from Thingiverse like we've done before. But unlike other times, we're actually going to be slicing it and then modifying the G code manually so you could get a little bit of the inner workings of, of what G code is like sort of doing and how you can modify specific parts of it. Going to Thingiverse, I can go here. I can find a React tower, or sorry, a temperature tower. I don't really care which one you use as long as it has a couple of different features and it looks like it goes through the range of temperatures for PLA. It looks going from 220 to 180. That definitely looks like an appropriate range for PLA. So let's download those files. There we go. Finally, we got the temp tower that we wanted. All right. So let's open that up in our downloads. All right. So you have that'll be this one. A couple of my other temp towers didn't work. So let's download this, or let's extract all of these. Extract. Okay. And then we are going to go to Files, Temp Tower. There we go. That looks good. Looks like that'll open just fine. Some of them that you'll find on Thingiverse are kind of annoying to open in Cura, but this one I found seems to work pretty good. And again, you don't have to use the exact same one that I did. All right, cool. So there we have that in there. That's looking pretty good. Um, so what we can see here, we got the generic PLA. Let's make sure that um, we have okay, all that infill looks good. We got our temp up to 210. That's usually preferred. Yep, 60 millimeters per second. Initial layer speed, it's up to 30. You know me, I usually like to bring that down a little bit. So let's bring that down to 15. Okay. And then yeah, we're not going to do any build plate adhesion or support. Actually, you know what? Let's make a brim for the build plate adhesion, and that should all be pretty good. I'm gonna have the layer heights go up in something that's a little bit more round. So let's go up in zero point 0.4, and we're gonna keep the changes that we made that told it to go slower on the initial layer. And we brought the printing temp up, and we brought the infill density down. So I'm gonna keep those changes. Okay. And now what we got to see is we're going to do this manually. All right. But we want to check and see where which layers are where. So just as like a little bit of a comparison. So normally if you're going to do a temp tower like this, you go to extensions, auto towers, and then temperature tower for PLA. So you could see, just to compare these two, you can move these around. So this is the one that we downloaded from Thingiverse. And come to think of it, it's like kind of big. So I might tend to scale that around. Something I guess I haven't talked a whole lot about are these tools on the left-hand side in the slicer. So you can move things around if you want to. That's pretty straightforward. You also have a scale feature here that allows you to make things smaller or bigger. Here, let me X out of that so you can see what's going on with the scale. So I can make things smaller or bigger. I'm actually gonna make this decrease the size of this by 70%. Let's go 75%. Yeah, that looks more similar to the size of the tower that comes with it, or that is built into the slicer. Um, so cool. Maybe even a little bit more. Let's go to 60, something like that. Not making it too big just because I don't want it to take very long. They have similar features. There's actually kind of more features on the one that we downloaded, which is cool. We won't need the one in the back. But normally when you put the one in the back in, it'll automatically modify the G code to change when it's supposed to. So when, at the layer marks that these have. But what we're going to need to do for ours, so I deleted the auto tower, so it'll take that feature away. Okay. But what we're going to need to do for ours is figure out how many layers and therefore what distance offset you have for each temperature change. Okay. So here we go. Let's go ahead and slice that. Okay. Now we could go into, so 1 hour and 21 minutes. That's pretty good. So now what we should be able to do is go to, okay, so at layer 60, it looks like. So at layer 60, sorry, trying to get it right on 60, whatever. 61. We're gonna call it layer, yeah. Is that an appropriate place to start that? Okay, yeah, sure. Maybe, yeah. So at layer 60, that's when we'll start the new temperature. It seems to have finished the 220 at that point. So yeah, so we'll go at layer 60 and then layer 120. So layer 60, layer 104. So you could write these down, but layer 60, layer 104, layer 151, okay, layer 195. So you could write down all these different guys. Um, layer 240 or so. Yeah, 240. So yeah, the first one is 60. I'm gonna demonstrate how to do an initial temperature change, but you'll just, I don't want the video to be too long, so I won't show you on every single one. But yeah, so what I'm gonna do is save this to disk. It'll just, save it. I'll just put it on the desktop. Um, and we'll save. Okay, so file saved. So let's go to our desktop and let's open that up. So, sorry, not home, desktop. Okay. And that was the one from today. So this is the temp tower. So let's open it up in Notepad. Just once. Yeah. Okay, cool. So now, what are we looking at? What do we change? Well, there's a lot of G codes here, right? You have various M codes which set certain things about the machine, certain things like how the extruder runs, certain things about like the temperature of the nozzle, which we'll need to find. And then you have your G1s, which are linear movements. G2s are clockwise. G3s are counterclockwise. There's a really long list of G codes. I don't pretend to have them all memorized. But what we need to find here is where it is calling out the temperature. Okay, so we set our temperature to 210. Okay, and as you can see here, we have an M104 S210. Okay, so that's pretty cool. All right. So we figured out just by, yeah, just by looking at this that M104, okay, is the call out for setting a temperature, and then it sets the temperature by doing an S110. Okay, and it even has a comment that shows what it is doing there. Okay, so let's do this. So let's control F in our program. And let's see if we could find an M104, which is the call out for doing that. So M104, yep, turns off the extruder at the very end. Okay. So M104 sets it to 170. Okay, so it has a temperature set for bed leveling. Okay, interesting. And then yep. Okay, let's look at the next one. This is the extruder temp that it sets when it's actually going to be extruding. Um, and then the M109 waits for extruder temp. Okay, cool. So yeah, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take this M104. I think I already copied it, but let's just make sure we do it. Control C. And basically, we're gonna put this everywhere we need it to. Okay, so we need to figure out at line 60 what is the height associated with that? Well, we could tell that pretty easily by going back here and we could say our layer height is zero point 0.2 millimeters. So zero point 0.2 times 60 is what is that? 3 millimeters. Yep. Sorry. 2 times 60 is 120, so that'd be 12 millimeters. Sorry. 12 millimeters is what we're looking for when it comes to the next change in temperature. So I'm going to do again Control F, and that's just going to be Z um 12. Sorry, not 21, 12. Let's see if that works. Cannot find a Z12. So let's see. Let's just type in Z. So Z point 2, Z point 4, point 6, 1.2, 1 point. Okay, cool. So just hitting enter repeatedly, trying to find 12. Okay, which will be associated with line 60. Okay, great. Great. Okay, cool. So right now, right before that line that tells it to go to Z equals 12 millimeters. So it looks like when I was finding it, I did Z space 12, but if I just did Z12, yeah, it would have brought me right there. Okay, cool. So very specific about how you got to type things in there. So I'm going to hit enter, okay, and I'm going to tell it to do control V, okay. This is going to be so at this point we want it to change to S215. Okay. Oh, and also we got to make sure that at the very beginning it starts out at 220. Okay, so let's go back up to the top. Let's do this the fast way. That'd be M104. So there we go. That's all the way at the end. Okay, so at the beginning, sets the extruder temp while it's bed leveling. Then right after that, pretty much, it sets the temp to 210. So let's make this 220 because that is what the first like sort of series of layers are going to be in our particular temperature tower. Okay. And then, basically, I don't exactly remember. I can't rattle off all the layers that I need to modify, from what I just read, but I know I had to do 60. And so that's why I put that other M104 and changed the S to 215. Okay. So let's go back up. Let's make sure we're doing the right thing. So M104, 220. So we're going to go down to the next one, and we're going to see that, okay, so it makes sure that it sets it again. So let's make sure that goes also to 220. Okay. Yep. All right. Let's try and find the next M104. So again, I'm taking a look that Z point 0.4. It should still have 220 at that point because that's less than the 12 millimeter mark. That where it changes to 215. Okay, cool. There is the M104 that we added right before it gets to the 12 millimeter position. That's great. Okay. And the last one's at the end. Okay, what I should be doing, although I'm not going to go through all the lines and do it, is change all the other lines of code that are associated with a temperature change. And again, the way I find that is I go to Cura and I very simply adjust these layers to figure out where, the next like sort of series, where the next repeating pattern starts. Okay. Um, so great. That is all basically for the temp test. Well, you have to obviously print it and then write a report about how the temperature affected the quality of the part. Okay. Thank you very much for watching. That is all.